So all that remains is to add the shimmer path. We do that by adding another track. Insert new track. We'll just move that one to the right there and call it shimmer. This one again is automatically set up to route to the master, which is fine. We want to hear it, so that's good. The only track we're not hearing in the master is the input. But I want to set up, what I do need to do is give this shimmer path, shimmer track an input, and I want to do that from this track. So if I click on the I/O again and add a new send, or if I, for speed, would just to click here underneath our first send, then I can add a new send, and I want to go to, in this case, the shimmer track. And there's my second send, now routed from track 1. And you can adjust the levels and fade of these sends at this point, or as we'll see later, we can adjust the presence of this particular track using its own fader. So if I just take down the first track for a moment, where we are again is back with just a signal from the guitar from the input track sent to the shimmer track. We can't hear the main track anymore. So what I want to do now is give that an amplifier. So I'm going to give it its own amplifier, again using Guitar Rig 5. Just whack in a Fender Twin model, I think that is, a bit of volume. There's some sound. And then I'm going to add a second VST underneath that one. And I'm going to add the Valhalla DSP Shimmer VST from my list. And I'm going to load that with a preset that Olivier from the forum has created, which sounds pretty nice. And there's our shimmer path. So all we need to do now is get something like a mix. I'm setting them on stupid settings just so you can hear it. So there we've got a mix of our main tone and the shimmer tone. Okay, so pretty much the rig we set out to create, so we can adjust those levels to make it sound something like half decent. Last thing to look at very quickly, and this is probably a tutorial or video in its own right, but you know, that's all fine and great and interesting, but it's a bit static. So what I want to be able to do really is control, as you can with physical effects, how those effects interact at various points in the song. So we can change pretty much in most VSTs any parameter that the VST has. So I can change any of these settings either through automation, which is static, which will set up to change at various points in the song, or I can set them to respond to physical inputs from a MIDI device. So just quickly demonstrating how that works. If I select the shimmer track which contains the shimmer VST, and I click on this fella here, what we get is this really complicated list of all the parameters that we can adjust. If I just close this down just to simplify it, we can automate parameters that are sort of native to the track, like its volume, the way it pans, its stereo width, various other bits, or we can, more interestingly, control parameters within the VSTs that are contained within that track. So in our shimmer track we know we have a Guitar Rig 5 amp, so I can change any of the parameters that are made available by Guitar Rig. or I can change any of the parameters that are made available by Valhalla Shimmer. And just for as an example, we'll control the wet dry mix of the Valhalla Shimmer. So if I select and arm the wet dry parameter, you see this automation track appear underneath the shimmer track, which contains the VST. And if I click and hold on that purple line, you should be able to see down here the mix move. Now this little guy here that says trim, what that's doing, that's describing how the automation mode works, and again, the Reaper manual is the place to understand how all of these different modes work. But essentially, in trim mode, what will happen is if I can create points on this purple line, and I can move them about, and I can do all kinds of weird and wonderful things and create pretty shapes. And the relevance of those shapes is that as the track plays, that will change, if you look down here, how that parameter behaves. So basically what would happen there if my backing track was playing is the shimmer would fade out over those few bars over which I created that shape, that envelope. And you can move those about, and you can create some interesting patterns in time with your backing track to give you the effects as and when you need them, without having to do too much tap dancing. The other way of doing it is to connect a parameter in the VST to a physical device via MIDI. So what I'm going to do with that is, to do this, I do need to change the automation mode from trim or read. Trim and read will basically just within the track, as the song plays, move the sliders or move the parameters up and down. If I go to any of these bottom ones, what we'll do is we'll record and we'll actively adjust the envelope levels. So to use MIDI, we need to be in one of the bottom modes. Now that is another tutorial, so you're just going to have to trust me on this one for the moment. But experiment and play is the best thing to do. So if I move it to touch mode, and then I hit this MIDI learn on the automation track, I get this dialog. And if I move one of the MIDI enabled controls of my GT8, that happens, and I've just moved the expression pedal on my GT8, and my expression pedal is programmed to send out on MIDI channel 16 a control change 7 message. So if I just click that and OK it, then what we should see is, you see how that's moving? That's responding now as I move the foot pedal, or the expression pedal on my GT8, that is changing that parameter. Which, if I just adjust the overall level, see in touch mode, any change I make here will get automated. So you can hopefully hear the shimmer coming in and out. And if I were to start recording a track, you'll see there the movement as that foot pedal gets recorded too. So, and then when I play it back, you can see the VST responding to the recording of the MIDI input that was being received as we recorded it. So there you go, hopefully of some interest in terms of how we can use VSTs. And just as a final example, here's an example. This is a patch for All I Want, or a project for an All I Want Is You cover. And you can see just a couple of automation tracks set up. Here I'm using a couple of shimmer paths, one Valhalla shimmer as we were using earlier, another guitar rig shimmer effect, and these two envelopes are just bringing in and out those two shimmers as and when I need them. And then later on here, this is an automation for a drive VST. So towards the solo and outro, this just turns the drive VST on and off in Guitar Rig. So there is how automation of VSTs can make for the novice tap dancer playing complex songs a little bit more easy. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it was marginally useful. Until next time, thank you.